Well, the Angels hired their new manager. Definitely someone that came up very, I guess, recently. Like they interviewed him the night before, and yes, Bryce said he McDonald's French fries. But the Angels hired.
I had to.
The Angels hired former Texas Rangers manager Ron Washington as the Angels' new skipper. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you your thoughts, but no.
Well, I can give like the old background here.
I'll give my quick little spiel and then I'll let you go. I like the hire. It definitely. I told you my immediate reaction was, this is not Artie. This has Perry's fingerprints all over. Although I do think it was definitely an easy hire for Artie. Like it wasn't a hard sell for Perry. It wasn't like he had to be like, oh, come on, just let me hire this, somewhat big name, long time, veteran manager. I don't think he had to sell that hard. But I think, I think that's why it ends up being kind of a best of both worlds, because he has his guy in Ron Washington, who I'm more than positive will do whatever Perry wants.
To a degree.
And so Perry, obviously he's not going to let him run things, but or run everyday stuff. But I think he'll, if Perry says, "Hey, I want to run more," for example, I want to run more, analytic type stuff. Let's make sure we get more of this involved and that involved. I think Washington will be more willing to hear that kind of thing than Joe Madden or Nevin.
Yeah.
So, but that was my instant reaction. And then I think, whenever I think of Washington, I think of all those classic
Texas
Angels matchups with the Rangers over the years and Mike Napoli and guys like that. It's like, it's a long time history, but I think it's a good hire. But yeah, I guess you can give the background, but also just like, what do you like about this hire? Because you said you really liked it. You were surprised that they made a really good hire.
Well, it's the Angels, so I'm always surprised when they do something good. No, I think it's a good move. I think it's a 2-year deal, according to John Heyman or Bob Nightingale. It's a 2-year deal, which he's 71, so he'd be 73 by the end of it. I assume he makes it past if they don't extend him, but this also gives credence to like one guy that got interviewed by the name of Torrey Hunter, who could be like a bench coach for him, which I think would be a great move, because then you have that like Washington leads it for 2-3 years, and then you can hand it off to Torrey, and if Torrey wants to manage, then Torrey ends up being your manager. So really, this is probably a good direction for them to go if they were like, hey, we really like what. I'm only using Torrey example because I know they interviewed Torrey in Texas not too long ago. So if they were to interview Torrey and say like, hey, we want you to be our manager in the future. We want you to learn under Washington, who, is very well respected, very good with young teams, has that World Series pedigree. Just learn from him for 2 years, see where he's at. And then if he does want to step away and say, hey, I'm done, I got my shot at redemption, we can hand it off to Torrey, who maybe already really wanted. And this is that compromise where it's like, hey, we get that experience, the guy who's been to the World Series, a guy who back-to-back knows how to win, knows how to make a winning culture, can improve the defense, which was god-awful, especially the infield defense over the last few years. So, I mean, it sort of shows how fast this came about, because I interviewed him last night, which I guess was a formality, but I mean, he has he had 7 years, I think, with Washington before stepping down. Then, I mean, like I said, I think he knows what he's doing, and this is a good move. He's like I said, he's very well respected. He knows how to lead this team. He knows what it takes to lead. He can build that culture that we've all said like they didn't have. Like I said, it might lead to a guy I already wanted. Like I said, was Torrey Hunter the guy I already wanted? And this is that compromise of like, hey, like Perry could very well like Torrey, just say, hey, give him a little bit of seasoning under a guy who I assume Torrey Hunter respects as well. Like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, Torrey's really the actual manager, but it's one of those bits where we've seen this happen before, where it's like you had the succession plan in place. So like 2 years, he's 71 now. He'll be 72 when the season starts. So he'll be 74 at the end of the contract. If he wants to continue, let him continue. If he wants to retire, he can retire and they can hand it off to somebody else. It's good. I hope they extend it. It might be a thing with like Perry where we don't know where Perry's going to be. So you have to have a shorter deal, because there are reports that it was like the bigger recycled names didn't want to touch that death trap. But I don't think anyone really wanted those guys anyway. But I am shocked they actually made a good move. Shocked.
Is it wrong of me to kind of, in my head, I kind of think of this as an upgraded version of Mike Scioscia?
No, it's probably you're probably in the same boat.
Like you're getting that veteran presence in terms of somebody who's got a proven track record. So you're getting somebody that will demand the respect of the clubhouse. Like Joe Madden.
The thing with Joe Madden was the Joe Madden stick gets old very fast.
Yes.
We've heard that. I heard that firsthand from somebody who worked with Evan Longoria's dad, that Evan said that the shtick gets old very fast, which we all know. Like, we heard in Chicago too, like the shtick gets old very fast, where it's like, because the whole thing is Joe's just an old hippie. There's nothing wrong with, mind you, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like it rubs off. It loses its feel very fast.
Sure. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think Washington and Scioscia both have this. It's the same sense of like getting respect because he's been there, he's done that sort of thing. But with guys like Washington and Scioscia, you get this sense of they're a little bit more safe in the way they treat their players.
Well, it helps a lot more too when you have a guy that the one thing Nevin struggled with constantly was just the game feel, was just feeling a game out. Watching games, it felt like innings had a tendency to slip away from him, where like under Madden, under Osmus, under Madden, you never had to worry about that. Like, even so, you never had to worry about that. But with Phil, it always felt like the inning could slip away and it would just snowball from something that was like 1-2 runs, that if he would have just pulled the pitcher the minute things got bad, they wouldn't have given up that many runs. That ended up being 3 or 4 runs, right? Where I don't think you're going to get that with Washington. You're not going to get a guy who's not going to have that feel. And a lot of it too is firing your assistant to the general manager too. Like, that's a spot that they have to look to fill. I mean, mind you, that was probably part of the problem the Angels had with the pitching side of trying to use math and analytics to sort of fit in the spots instead of kind of letting someone who has a feel and understands how it works sort of take control of that more. Which, again, you're not going to have that problem with Wash. You're not going to, all these weird little issues you're not going to have that issue. And now even with this hire too, is now we're in a different position of like, okay, like if they hire Torx, we don't really know like how many guys are there, right? Now that you have Washington, you can hire a guy like Torrey Hunter to be a bench coach. Whereas if you hire Torrey, you had to hire like a Ron Renicky to be a your bench coach. You had to hire somebody with managerial experience to sort of help him out. Now with having Washington, you get that luxury of having like a Torrey Hunter, a Tim Salmon as your bench coach. So it's like you can have a guy who can just learn and absorb. And again, I really hope that is somebody like Torrey Hunter, that, hey, because he respects Artie, He respects Artie respects him to be like, hey, we want you to manage this team 2, 3, 4 years. Learn from Washington. Do what you can do. And just try it out, because he doesn't have that pressure. Ron's going to take the pressure off of him, and he can learn. And that helps that, because now you don't have to worry about like getting although I do say like, still get the best pitching coach you can, get the best hitting coach you can, get all these guys, because apparently all our coaches are going to the White Sox, which is the funniest thing ever. But all that pressure that you would have with a newer manager having to sort of surround him with that experience, you don't necessarily have to be as hard on, have to be as dependent on having the support system, because now it can be like, okay, we can kind of sort of be like, okay, let's get a guy we want to have you take over, like succession plan in the bench coach to learn. And there were some more interesting names. Like, heck, Dino Ebel was apparently one of the guys the Angels wanted to go after. So is Dino going to come back and coach? That'd be interesting. But now we're going to see like how the staff fills out, which who knows how that's going to go, because we could see like a guy like Mike Maddox come, that he was Ron's pitching coach in Texas, come to Anaheim if he really wanted to be with Josh, or to be with Wash again. So now you have this. I think now you're going to see like the pool of coaches go from like a smaller pool to a bigger pool, because people in baseball know what Washington's about and know what he can do. So I think you're going to see the quality of coaches that the Angels can attract be a bit higher, despite everybody saying it's the worst job. It's the worst job in baseball. I think now you're going to get more respected guys that are going to want to kind of sneak back in here, or not. Who knows? But sure. I think that'll help.
Sure. Yeah. No. Like I said, I think I feel like it was a pretty. Once I saw the name, I was like, what? Oh, well, that just makes sense. Like it just came out of nowhere. It feels like, but like at the same time,
happens.
As you see,
it happened quick.
Yeah, that feels right.
It did happen quick, because they allegedly interviewed him last night. So like it I don't think it mentions it here, but it very much was like it happened essentially in 24 hours, but we don't necessarily know. I mean, the Craig Counsell thing on Monday, like we didn't, like they fired. I jokingly said, that'll be more so on Friday, but like we know how quick these things can kind of happen. Yeah, because they interviewed him last night. It says the Angels are interviewing Ron Washington tonight, being Tuesday, for their job, and he only came into the picture, I think, a few days ago. So it happened fast with Wash. But again, we sort of there is the understanding of Wash is very well respected, so it's not too surprising that it was fast.
Now,
I also want to see where he was mentioned. Oh no, he was mentioned. He was mentioned Monday. Okay, so yeah, last few days.
How do you expect? This is my last probably question about all this. How do you expect this to affect Shohei as he's starting his free agency? Do you think this has any effect at all? If it doesn't, then we can just go with that. It has no effect, and it's
I kind of
he's gone either way or whatever. I don't know.
I think it I think I wondered if the managerial stuff would play a role, because and we can talk more about, like, again, more so on Friday, but if you look at the teams that are like the Dodgers, the odds-on favorites, and the one thing I keep asking is, why would he want to go to why would he want to go to the Dodgers? He's in the same position that he's with the Angels. They don't have any pitching, and the pitching market's thin. Are the Dodgers really going to pay a premium to get what they need, which is like re-signing Kershaw and then probably 2-3 other arms? Like, I don't see that happening. Like, Giants,
Sure.
The Giants were a better version of the Angels. I don't really see it, and he can't. And remember, he's not pitching this year. So again, it's like the same spot of any team that doesn't have like established arms you're going to have a hard go of it because you're only getting half of Ohtani for 24. So in terms of that, I don't know how much it is because we don't necessarily know. One, we don't know if it was really Tommy John because they haven't said it. I assume it was Tommy John. So he's done for the year. Two, the teams we're hearing mainly have been teams where it's like they would need more than one pitcher, whether it be the Dodgers, the Giants, and I guess they're saying, oh, Chicago's going to be really aggressive with him. They too kind of have the same sort of like medium pitching. So you're sort of getting this mix of like, you're going to have something more where it's like at least with the Angels, you can kind of be like, bet on what's there, at least to a little bit, where it's like, okay, a new pitching coach could hypothetically fix Anderson, fix Sandoval, fix Detmers. Still Seth looked decent enough. So really, if you wanted to get one or two guys, you can, but you don't necessarily have to. I would, but. And plus two, they can be back on a 5-man rotation, not a 6-man this year. I think this, like I said, I think this helps a little bit because the biggest piece they needed has been filled, and it's been filled quickly. So as we head closer, and I said this in my podcast, as we head closer to the winter meetings where the stuff will probably ramp up, I think the Angels are in a better position than people probably want to admit because, as we all know, the baseball world doesn't want Ohtani back in Anaheim. They haven't wanted Anaheim since 21 when he got good. They want him out. So you're probably going to hear a lot of the Angels stuff get downplayed, but you're going to hear the Dodger propaganda, the Giants propaganda, the Mariners propaganda even. You're going to get a lot of that noise before you get the Angels stuff, but we really don't. It's sort of like Trout. We don't necessarily know what's going through their heads because remember, Trout was a Philly. When his free agency was coming, he was a Philly. They were like, he's going to Philly, and then he didn't. So at this point, it's like, well, where is he going? Oh, he's going to go to the Dodgers. He's going to go to the Giants because they have money. The Cubs have money. Until he doesn't. So I don't necessarily know. I don't know what's going through the mind of Shohei. It really could be like, no, I want to win in Anaheim. It could be the thing. Like we've heard this before sometimes where guys are like, like they want to fight. Like I think Trout made the point where it's like, I don't necessarily want to go to a team and instantly just be plugged in and we're going to win. Like maybe Ohtani's the same way where it's like, no, I want to win this team. Last year we were so injured. I even got injured that I think running it back with a different manager and different pieces, we have a shot. It could be that. Like I said, we don't know until we know. And like I said, you're not going to find that until the winter meetings, which are in like 30 days from now of recording this.
Sure. Dude, by the way, did you see the Jeff Passan?
Yeah, I saw. No, I saw that.
Los Angeles Angels are hiring Ron Washington as their new manager, sources tell ESPN. Washington, the former manager of the Texas Rangers and beloved longtime coach, now with Atlanta, gets another shit with the Angels. John Heyman was on.
I mean, there you go. And the winter meetings are the 4th through the 7th. So we have less than a month, but that's usually when things sort of take shape.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, I don't necessarily know one way or the other. I'm not leaning one way or the other.
Should be fun to see, though.
We'll know when we get the announcement. And could this help? I don't think it hurts.
Sure.
But like I said, the biggest thing is I think for any team signing him, you have to make the realization that you're not going to get him pitching probably till halfway through next year, if not.
Yeah, but even as a hitter, he's pretty much elite. So.
Yeah, but MLB trade rumors are saying he's going to make like $500 million for like what 12 or 13 years. Like, I get it. Like it's sort of that investment sort of thing of like, whoa, you're paying for the investment, but it's like, I can
Japan's
see.
Favorite team. I said you're paying to become Japan's favorite team.
I mean, look, I mean, I get it where it's like, oh, well, the endorsements help, you know, you get all the endorsements and stuff, but it's like, are you willing? It's one of those bits where it's like, are you willing, like, you know, go ahead, flip that coin. Like that's how it feels is like, you know, are you paying 500, you know, that much money for a bat? Or are you paying that money for a, you know, an ace and a bat, which is, you know, which is what he's, you know, allegedly for, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're saying, oh, wait. Oh. But yeah, I think they said like 5. Yeah. 12 years, 528 million. Like,
so
that's a lot.
I guess we'll see how that all goes, but yeah, I personally I like it. It seems like it could go one of two ways. I mean, here's the thing though: is if it doesn't work, it's probably the end of Perry's time because he just hired an old man as his manager, and I've already seen the tweets responding to Sam Blum. People responding to Sam Blum saying, "Figures already would just hire an old blah 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 blah." And it's like,
well, I mean,
there's more to it than that.
But I mean, there's always going to
go any higher though. There's always going to be people who hate it.
No, but I mean, but also too, it's like, well, why would you got to remember too, there's no team really hated more than the Angels for no real reason. Like that's part of it is you have guys who gladly will, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll see.
We shall. It should be a fun rest of the offseason. If the Angels do get Ohtani back and maybe sign a couple big name pitchers, then
we're gonna have the best.
If we have an amazing offseason, we'll be sitting here in a few months going, Angels 2024 World Series champs, baby. But we'll see.
We're gonna have the best 71 win team there ever. We're gonna have the best 71 win team this side of the Mississippi.
Oh yeah!
Hell yeah! All right. Well, we'll be back here on Friday or Monday rather, for a full thing. We're talking about this a little bit more and probably less detail, but we figure with the breaking news, get this out to you as soon as you can. So you get us on Thursday and then Monday. Look at that. A little bit of double.
Woo!
All right. So we'll see you guys then on Monday. Adios.